All right, seeing comments here from Metro DC, East Bay, Atlanta, LA, San Diego, uh, Northwest Michigan, Pacific Time 9 Eastern Time. We're going to go ahead and get started. Once again, welcome to Groundwork's Fight Fascism, Build DSA Mass Call. My name is Mark. I use he, him pronouns on the Los Angeles chapter, also on the Groundwork Steering Committee. And glad that folks came out today. We saw a lot of folks from across the organization here today from different chapters. We're here to talk about our Fight Fascism Build DSA effort, but also talking about the DSA for All platform that we have rolling forward for National Convention. And a lot of the organizing DSA members across the chapter have done recently in regards to May Day. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to our NPC member Francis, and maybe Francis introduces her new puppy, and to kind of get us started here for today. So Francis, go ahead and take it over.
Hey everybody, I'm Frances, she, her. I'm in Los Angeles DSA along with Mark. I do have a new puppy. I have my screen is blurred, so you actually can't even see her, but she's adorable. Carmelita. But yeah, welcome everybody to this call. This is an opportunity. We're going to talk a little bit about some proposals that we have for convention this year as Groundwork. We're also going to talk a little bit about just how we can build off the energy that we saw on May Day across chapters all over the country. And we're going to hear back from some chapter leaders about what kind of work they did in their chapters on May Day. I think, I guess I just want to start by saying that we are living through, I don't have to tell anybody on this call, but we're living through a really urgent political crisis right now. And it's critical that socialists are at the forefront of leading the fight back in that moment of crisis. I just got back from my union's annual convention, where we talked a lot about how, as organized labor, we can be a part of the fight back against fascism. And it was very inspiring, very energizing to be in that room with, union leaders from all across the country. I work in healthcare, so healthcare workers from all across the country, figuring out ways that we can fight back against right-wing extremism and really leverage our power as workers to be a part of that fight. I think, also we know that socialists need to be at the center of that. And I think we're in this moment of crisis, but we're also in this moment of incredible just opportunity, and opportunity to build power for working people and to be a part of this, the leading edge of this fight back against Trump and against the rise of right-wing extremism. We know that we need to be able to offer a clear political alternative. We have to be able to offer a clear political vision. And when we don't, when the Democrats have failed to do so, what we see is just the emergence of these right-wing beliefs and these right-wing political power. And so we as socialists have to be able to offer that clear political vision for something that can be better. And we also have to just be realistic about what is the urgent crisis facing our organization right now and facing working people right now. And that is the Trump administration. It is the rise of right-wing extremism and fascism. And we're seeing these attacks on immigrants, on working people, on trans people. We're seeing these just, horrifying attacks, like people being just like abducted from the street and deported to other countries. Like it's really, really terrifying, the moment that we're living in. But we have a political home in DSA, and we also have a political vision. I joined DSA right after the 2016 when Trump got elected the first time. And one of the things that really made me stick in the organization, made me realize that DSA was my political home, was that socialists were able to offer an analysis of not just like why this had happened, but also, what we could do about it. And that was organize as workers and organize through the labor movement, organize as socialists in the labor movement, and to really leverage our power in the workplace. So yeah, it feels very synchronous to be on this call coming off of my union convention, and just my story of how I got involved in DSA. All of those things kind of coming together in this like very, very urgent political moment. So I'm really excited to see so many folks on this call. This is really fantastic. And I think that we have a lot of just opportunity to be a strong DSA that can really fight back against right-wing extremism and the Trump administration. And I want to see us do that. And I think this convention is an opportunity for us to really build the org so that we can do that. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And I'll pass it back to Mark.
Yeah, awesome. Big shout out to Francis for doing so much over the last year and over very busy weekend with CIR conference. And so always keeping busy and always organizing here with Groundwork. So next one I want to do is to hear some chapter report backs from comrades that did major mobilizations for May Day this past week. We saw chapters across the states turn out in big numbers. And so we want to hear like what some folks have been doing in their chapters. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Joe from Metro DC to talk about what did Metro DC do for May Day.
Yeah, hello everyone. Joe Rojas from Metro DC DSA. I use he, they pronouns. I'd sort of prepared to talk about something other than May Day, but I can talk about that. So our chapter, we have like a big local union campaign. Unite Here Local 25 launched drive at these five sort of very iconic restaurants. Around 500 workers, supermajorities announced that they had signed union cards back in January. And then some of the co-chairs of our labor working group had the idea, as I noticed that other chapters did as well, to sort of like try to have DSA be kind of a leading convener. And we have this, massive graphic with like 30 logos, everything from the kind of typical progressive unions down to like roofers unions endorsed this May Day event. And I'd say that, the propaganda numbers are that probably a few thousand people were there. And what was very exciting for us in terms of this combining relatively strong turnout campaign that the union has really appreciated for having our members like regularly out on the picket line now that they've kind of transitioned to picketing and soon to be launching a boycott of these restaurant groups. And this massive rally that went on in Freedom Plaza in DC, after the rally was over, it was very, very close to the restaurant that we were picketing. And so you had this moment where, like, I don't know, several hundred more people joined what was already probably one of the largest of the picket lines that I've been to so far since this campaign started. So if you go to labor_MDC DSA, or our main chapter page, you can see some of the videos there, or DC Food Workers. And it's just this, it was this very beautiful moment. And I feel like Stephen Starr, who is the shitty boss that we were picketing against, I hope is shaking in his boots and should be buckling up, because we're going to be picketing throughout the summer and launching a boycott that I think is going to be picking up a lot of steam, including getting some local DC elected officials and members of Congress and so on to sign on to it. So we're very excited about it.
Oh yeah, big shout out to the comrades over in Metro DC. Next, I want to kick it over to Jules to talk about what the Los Angeles chapter was up to on May Day.
Hi everyone, Jules, they, them pronouns. I am with DSA LA. We really turned out for May Day this year. We participate every year, but this year the fight had special significance, of course, because of the Trump administration's attacks against working people. We pushed for a huge turnout to make it clear that these right-wing policies do not fly in LA. We were a member of the planning coalition for May Day in LA, along with immigration organizations and labor unions. One of our members spoke at the May Day press conference alongside other powerful union leaders and elected officials, which is really awesome. We had about 10,000 workers at the rally Thursday, shutting down LA for half the day, with 200 DSA members out with us, right? And this came on the heels of a historic labor action in LA with SEIU 721, which represents 55,000 county workers. They went on strike for the first time in their union's history. And just a couple of weeks ago, Bernie spoke to 36,000 Angelenos in downtown LA. So there's a lot of energy in LA to fight fascism, and we as DSA LA are ready to lead this fight. We passed a resolution at our chapter convention to prioritize fighting fascism, fighting back against the Trump administration, and building out that infrastructure to do so. So we know that socialists need to be at the center of this fight, and in order for it to succeed, and only socialism can beat fascism. So we're ready to lead the fight at DSA LA. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jules. And yeah, big shout out to my comrades out in Los Angeles. All right, next, I want to we have Nate from Atlanta to talk about what Atlanta chapter did for May Day. Nate, go for it.
Yeah, hey everybody. This is Nate. I am secretary for Atlanta DSA. And our big thing was we had this May Day coalition come together locally for a big rally and demonstration and march at the Georgia State Capitol. And so we joined that. That was convened by a couple unions like SEIU, some activists from AFA, the Association of Flight Attendants, and got a lot of sponsorship, another event with like a massive amount of different logos. So we got a lot of unions to endorse, as well as like labor, nonprofits, and community organizations. A lot of different left-wing groups signed on, and there ended up being something like 25, 30 different endorsing organizations. And we were not in favor of doing it at 3 o'clock in the day, but it happened at 3 o'clock in the day. But it still managed to get about 1,000 people. So there's a big march, and then we also had another smaller rally on the weekends that unfortunately got rained out, but we powered through it. So we did some big demonstration events in coalition with labor and progressives locally. And in addition to that, we did some other like labor events, like a screening of a movie about Amazon organizing. There's been a lot of interest in May Day stuff from our local labor organizers. And the big thing for us is that we've been trying to do political outreach to collaborate with other organizations to build relationships for some of our political work. So we did have a big launch canvas for the Kelsey Bond campaign for Atlanta City Council, where we had some guest speakers from the Teamsters, from the Machinists Union, from some basically aligned unions that we're trying to get to help endorse and sponsor the campaign. And some of them where those unions haven't endorsed officially yet, but we're getting some buy-in from some of the leaders by having them come and volunteer and speak at the canvas kickoff. And so that was our biggest canvas in about 2 months, and we had a lot of buy-in and excitement. So also putting some of this energy into our electoral work. So and going forward, we'll see more to come on the rest of this call, but we're hoping that we can continue these relationships to build towards more protests and actions going forward with a broader coalition in Atlanta.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, always using May Day is a great organizing opportunity for bringing the left and labor together. So great work, Atlanta DSA. Let's go over to Danny for New York City.
Hey everybody. Yeah, New York City had a huge May Day. It was a big event with all of the unions showing up in force. I think there were like 10,000, 15,000 people at the New York City rally, and march, which was really, really cool. Definitely felt a little bit more militancy in the air this year. I do think, of course, it's a horrible crisis, but I think it does present some interesting opportunities too. Our chapter was pretty instrumental in getting AOC to speak at the May Day rally. It was pretty much our doing with her, of course, by talking to her office and getting them there. So that was really cool. And I think an interesting step forward for the chapter in terms of like our relationship with her going forward. I think we gave out like over 1,000 palm cards. We made palm cards specifically for May Day that had joined DSA QR codes and stuff there. We tabled there. We sold $1,000 worth of merch there. So it was like a really good event for us. And I really recommend having like a flyering operation, like a canvassing operation when your chapter turns out to these big events. Like we had a whole dedicated team of people who were at the march only to canvass and flyer. And it was really successful in terms of getting the word out. And people were very receptive. And of course, like the Zoran connection continues to like be very beneficial for the chapter as well. So yeah, great May Day overall. It was like the first time I've had fun at a march in a while, which is always a good sign.
Oh yeah, shout out New York City DSA with both the fundraising at May Day, the flyering. Those are really good organizing practices that we should be thinking about how we, engage more folks and recruit folks also, and build DSA through May Days. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Chris to talk about the May Day strong work that Chris is involved with.
Yeah, so it's really exciting to hear everyone's report backs from May Day. It was giant kind of outpouring. And what I think is interesting too is like in this May Day, like we've had lots of May Days that were kind of like disparately kind of organized, or they were organized as part of a mass movement, which is really exciting in the oddies around kind of immigrant rights uh immigrant workers kind of issues. This year we had a national coalition that was really interesting and something that we should sort of think about how we relate to. So the Mayday Strong Coalition was initiated in early March in a meeting in Chicago at the Chicago Teachers Union by the Chicago Teachers Union itself, right? Which meant that like many of its sort of leftist leaders, like sort of former presidents that have been like part of the ISO and other kind of socialist kind of things, moved this sort of like mass meeting or initiation of this coalition meeting that included like was CTU at the kind of like center of it, some other local unions in kind of Illinois, and a number of kind of like there was like UAW was invited and including Sean Fain, and like a few organizations included like Surge and Mahinte and like a number of immigrant right and Make the Road like worker centers. So there was about 10 organizations that were like the center of this like coalition. And from there, they expanded into a coalition by May Day that was about 200 organizations that kind of importantly sort of included some like major unions, like the NEA ended up having kind of a national focus on it and like including its own staff and trying to like move its locals. Of course, it's the biggest union in the country to like build around it. So the goal was to create about 400 actions by May Day in about 40 states. And the beautiful thing is, by the time we got to May Day, we had 1,300 actions in all 50 states. So all 50 states took action. We had 1,300 people, about 400,000 or 350 to 400,000 people took action. We had another kind of 100 actions that happened over the weekend and Saturday and Sunday, just happened to randomly be in Ojai, California, and randomly ran into a rally in the middle of the square there. So even like kind of like small towns and like in all 50 states was this big spread. So what's really kind of exciting about it, and I feel like very privileged to be able to be in the steering committee and get a kind of a bird's eye view of the communications pieces of it is that number one, it was mostly labor led. Like it was often like unions who were like taking the initiative. And in some places it was like there's one school that has an active like union in Delaware, for instance, that would do an 1 hour contract campaign action that was part of May Day. So what's interesting and unusual is again getting kind of a big labor spread and a big kind of labor led coalition. You really saw it in Los Angeles, where if we were like there was like big union contingents, big kind of like union presence on the spread. And the most exciting thing is this is going to keep going. Like at first, and this is the bad news from my own life, is what I said. The good news is like coalition is going to continue going. They have a mass call. There is a continuation sort of committee that's being led again by Chicago Teachers Union, kind of reconvening a coalition around like trying to keep energy around it, keep a labor-led coalition. And again, like a lot of the framing of the central kind of coalition was really good sort of class struggle stuff. It was like, so part of the framing for the new coalition is called Workers Against Billionaires. So hitting on that kind of, just kind of like for the many and not the few kinds of messaging and really hammering on it. So we're kind of looking to kind of continue that coalition and continue the energy, continue mobilization isn't around I mean, it's been very good to have like this diffuse 50-50-01 like mobilizations that have been able to like get people out. But this is like trying to get a coalition together that like includes unions and labor at the center around very sort of like very concrete class struggle kinds of rhetoric, you know. So overall, as socialists, I think this is a good development for all of us.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris, and definitely keep us updated what's going on with the Mayday Strong Coalition work. Um, right now, we're actually gonna, we've heard from a couple chapters, but we'd love to hear from other chapters and what you did with your chapter with Mayday, and some lessons learned. Also, we want to start thinking about Mayday 2028. You know, there's been the UAW call for a general strike in 2028, and thinking about organizing, what does that look like for your chapter? What does that look like for DSA? Also thinking about, how can DSA as a national organization do better? How can we organize more strongly? How can we build better coalitions? How can we be using Mayday as a recruiting mechanism going forward in the years to come? And then also we want to talk about what would a national campaign to fight fascism look like in the years to come? And so our comrade Nate, they are going to break us into breakout groups. We're probably going to be in a breakout groups for about 25 minutes or so to talk through these questions and give folks here on this call an opportunity to be heard and to be in discussion with other comrades. And so momentarily, they're gonna break us into some breakout groups and we're gonna have some discussions.
All right, I am going to try to open up the breakout groups. So, Liv and Mark, how many are we gonna do? Are we gonna do 3? Are we gonna do 4? What's
I
our
think-
target?
I think we got a good number of folks on this call. Maybe let's aim for 4.
All right, 4. And we're automatically splitting it up. So we are ready to go. And we have the discussion questions in the slides, so I will share those for folks in the chat.
All right, y'all. Looks like folks are coming back. A lot of great conversations in the breakout groups about a vision for, what a strong DSA could be leading up into May Day, different types of political interventions and strategic planning that chapters can do, between now and May Day to lay the groundwork for that actually to happen and have some clear political coherence around that. And kind of also how can we as a national organization do better to have like these major inflection points like May Day be opportunities for the organization to grow, to champion our politics, and to be really important and leading the movement. Socialists must lead, in my opinion. But with that, we're going to go ahead and go on to our next section here. I'm going to pass it over to Ben from Metro DC to talk about some of the resolutions and one new one in particular that Groundwork has been working on. So Ben, if you are ready to go, the floor is yours.
Yeah, hey, thanks so much, Mark. Sorry I'm off camera. I'm in the back of a dark car. But we're really pleased to be announcing our new resolution going forward into 2028. So something that was a huge problem for us in 2024 was essentially not taking a position on the presidential election, not being aware of the presidential election and what's to come. And we missed the moment because this is this takes up all the oxygen in the room. It's what people are focused on. 2016 and 2020, the Bernie campaigns are what gave us our growth. And so now we're in kind of a difficult position because we don't have an obvious candidate for president, but we do need to intervene in the election. So we're really pleased as Groundwork, along with our comrades in Bread and Roses, to unveil a Unite Labor and the Left to run a socialist for president and build a party resolution. And so what this does is really lay the groundwork of bringing together labor, socialist and progressive groups, and DSA together to operate as a as towards a mass party, both recruiting and looking at how to intervene in the 2028 presidential election, and also running a slate of candidates for Congress and forming sort of a party infrastructure. And so we want to spend the next 3 years building this and growing. So we're really, really pleased and excited to announce this resolution. If somebody here, I have a link here. I'm going to try and drop this in the chat for everybody. But please sign this. We need 250 signatures by the 11th. So we have 1 week to do this. But this is something we're really excited about as a sort of centerpiece of how do we look forward? How do we fight back against Trump? How do we build socialism? How do we build relationships between labor and DSA? And so, yeah, I'm really pleased and proud to announce this resolution. So yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, and then the link is in the Zoom chat right there. Let us know if you've signed that. And also let us know if you maybe have some trouble getting into the forums. We want to make sure that it's accessible to you all. But let us know if you've signed that resolution today. And also, I want to give some space to Nate, given that they've worked on this as well. And if they want to add anything to that.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add, so we had a little bit of discussion about this in the breakout group that we were in, because, you know, we had some discussion about, you know, there's been all these efforts to form a third party, and like the Citizens Party and the Labor Party and all these things. So this resolution that we're putting forward is really about running people in the Democratic primary for president in 2028. So I wanted to put that out there just to clear it up. But, you know, our hope is that, you know, there's this giant May Day coalition. There's all these labor unions, progressive organizations that are kind of forming this like camp and left wing of the Democratic Party right now, and that there's a big opening to really coalesce all those folks into kind of a party-like organization, and, you know, do this big coalition through the 2028 elections towards the long-term goal of forming a new party eventually. But the resolution specifically is for the Democratic primaries. So just clearing that up for folks, but that is the goal.
Great, thank you. And additionally, I think Francis has dropped a link right here in the chat to check out some of the other resolutions that we have being put forward. I think we're doing pretty good on signatures, but if you haven't signed our other resolutions, feel free to check out the website there. They're also posted on the forum. We have that looming date, which is, I believe, May 11th for signatures to get all signed up. And then we have the new one we introduced today. Looks like some questions are coming up in the chat. Maybe if anyone wants to stack up on any points regarding the resolution we introduced today, feel free to maybe jump on Stack and see if we can maybe get some of your questions answered there. Yeah, Nate, go for it.
Yeah, and so you know, I encourage folks to read it over. We're not going to get through everything right now, but our hope is to basically just run it back and do Bernie 3, but with somebody else. We, you know, there's a lot of questions in the air about who it's going to be. You know, there's been a lot of speculation about maybe Sean Fain runs for president, maybe AOC runs for president, maybe, you know, somebody else. And so the resolution kind of leaves it flexible, where maybe there's a big labor leader that runs that isn't, you know, running as a DSA candidate, but is part of this big labor coalition. And it's kind of oriented towards, you know, being flexible and working with that. You know, if we don't get our exact perfect candidate, we still want to be part of forming this. But, you know, we would love to see, I think everybody on the call would love to see AOC run for president. And so the resolution is kind of oriented around that, but a lot of time till then, but it's time to start planning for it. So that's what it's all about. But I think we can wrap it up and have people read it over and chew it over. We got until next Sunday night, May 11th, to get 250 signatures for it to be heard at convention for DSA.
Right. All right, and I think Jess has already picked her candidate right there for Bernie 2028. All right, y'all. Check out the links in the chat, DSA for all, to see the full list of resolutions that Groundwork is putting forward for our upcoming national convention. I encourage you, if you want to have an impact in shaping the direction of DSA going forward, run for delegate in your chapter. Our website also has a link where you could sign up to pledge to be a supporter of Groundwork going into convention. We want to organize as big of a political bloc that aligns with Groundwork going into convention as possible. And having so many of you on this call from across the organization is how we're going to start building together to shape the national organization in a direction that reflects our politics of mass politics that's rooting in the labor movement, the socialist movement, building together. And I believe in DSA. And so I hope folks here should continue to organize in your chapters, come out to National Convention, sign our resolutions. May 11th, the end of that, the deadline for that. And we're going to wrap up today's call. Appreciate you all for coming on. Solidarity forever. Have a good one.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.